Holy Week is not easy for pastors.
And the lights are out and you stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost.
No, I fill in for my dad. He's a UCC pastor. And so sometimes he'll call me and be like, hey, I need this. And I'll be like, all right, well, I'll be up. No problem. But his church is at this tiny little town in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. He's in Shenandoah. Can you do better than Shenandoah? No. Okay.
And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and
Right.
just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there.
By the way, 52 seconds. Oh, nice. That I believe. Especially when you don't have a place to draw from, so to speak.
From North Wilkesboro Speedway, the SCL Winston Cup Series is ready to step back in time at one of our sport's most hallowed grounds. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to beautiful Wilkes County, North Carolina, where the history of NASCAR has been written in the tire marks for 75 years. This county has a population of just over 4,100 people on an average day. But tonight, the SCL Winston Cup Series has helped the population explode to more than 20,000 screaming fans. Last week at Michigan, Barrett Flo snatched victory from the jaws of defeat as he brought home the checkered flag for the number 92 team. Now tonight, we have to wonder what his short track skills are, as the rest of these drivers are eager to make their presence known at this piece of asphalt draped in the bleachers of history. I'm Dave Regal here in the broadcast booth alongside my partner in crime, Mr. Zach Woods, where tonight we get to bask in the warm sunshine of all that is NASCAR. And we'd like to thank you for making SRM a part of your evening, because we'll be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag, here on Sim Racing Media. And Zach, glad to be with you tonight. And as we just mentioned, or as we had just quickly touched on before clicking go, this is the first time that you and I get to work together, and I'm always excited to work with someone new. And welcome in.
Well, I think I should be welcoming you, Dave.
Yeah, that's
I've been here this whole
about right.
time.
Yeah, you're right.
So, but welcome back here to YouTube land, all of our viewers and things of that nature, because we have great action here when it comes to SCL here. As you mentioned, Dave, a historical racetrack coupled with a brand new car, and these guys are going to be wheeling it all evening. 125 laps here around this historic raceway, and I'm really excited to see where this all shakes out in terms of driver talent, because this really truly is a wild card. You don't see this kind of track car pairing very often. It is new to us here at iRacing, so we're going to be in for a treat here tonight.
Without a doubt. I mean, we're definitely looking forward to All-Star Weekend in the Real Life Cup Series. And I got to be honest, when Dale Earnhardt Jr. had started talking about resurrecting this old track, I feel like every time I say the words "this old track," I feel like I'm plugging This Old House on PBS. But you know, when Dale Earnhardt Jr. had talked about resurrecting this old track, I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. And I had to do some research just to figure it out because, as you and I both are from up here in Pennsylvania, you know, North Wilkesboro, not exactly familiar territory for the two of us. So when I started to see a lot of what has happened here over history, I got really excited because I'm kind of a nerd that way.
Yeah, it is a really great track steeped in history, and for us that live up here in the Northeast, we don't really get to be privy to such things, but at least in this track discipline, right, where NASCAR has such a rich history down here, and these guys are gonna have to learn how to drive old school. You got to maintain some tire on these cars and be able to facilitate passes in awkward positions. It's all about capitalizing where the drivers in front of you are bad, and that's going to take some time to learn. So patience is a virtue here tonight in North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, and taking a look at just about everybody having qualified so far, looking at Brentwood, California's very own Andrew McKenzie. He's 37 years old, driving the number 6 Ford Mustang here. Right now has just gone 20th fastest as he comes across the line to finish, that second lap. Hopefully he got across before that was scored. Doesn't look like it improved his chances either way, but you know, we're going to see tire wear come into play very much tonight as you know, quite frankly, once those tires start to chew away, it's not a very high bank track, which means that those right sides are going to be beat to death. These cars are going to tighten up, and all of a sudden passing isn't going to look impossible, but it's going to look just the side of miraculous.
And so when we talk about that kind of racing, being disciplined in that regard, I'm looking at guys like Barrett Flo. Right now he's number 1 on the chart, but Barrett's really, really good, Dave, in this series when it comes to just letting the race come to you. He's not going to get concerned leading every lap. He could very well fall into the outskirts of the top 10. And Barrett is okay with that. Every single week, he always makes sure that his car is taken care of, and by the time this thing ends, he's got a car underneath him to be able to capitalize, because he didn't use his equipment in the first 50 laps. Big storyline for us this evening, Dave, is points leader Maxwell Caldwell. Last week, he finally showed that he is human. He had a very difficult outing last time around. Qualified terrible. Qualified in the back of the field. That really was not a factor in last week's SCL contest. They're all chasing him in points. I'm looking at the charts right now. He's 14th on the pylon, and Maxwell Caldwell might have back-to-back weeks where he's fighting an uphill battle. This track isn't exactly the easiest to go from back to front, and starting in the middle is about the worst place you can be.
Yeah, starting in the middle of any race, whether it's, as we just watched the end there, we're going to get ready for, I believe, we're going right to the feature tonight, which that's going to help. That's for darn sure. In fact, let's see if we got qualifying results here. Let's get this beautiful bean footage up on the screen. But, you know, basically starting in 14th where Caldwell is, it's kind of like starting in the middle of rush hour on the Schuylkill Expressway. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, and to be in the points lead, right, you can be a little bit more aggressive, especially with the gap that Maxwell does have on the field. Remember, SCL uses the old Winston Cup Series points system, so he has built up such a tremendous buffer for him, and his drop week, I believe, is about a 13th place finish, or it's relatively mild. So these drivers are hoping, praying that Max continues to struggle as he did last week. Maybe a little bit more of that this week. Who will rise to the top and capitalize?
Absolutely. Just waiting for a few more drivers to grid up here so we can get a look at them as we get ready to go through our our qualifying racing here in the SCL Winston Cup Series. I almost said street stock. That would have been very bad. But starting on the front row in pole position, Barrett Flo, who brought home the win last week at Michigan. He starts front row on the pole tonight. Starting on his outside, going to be Mr. Justin Lewis in the 07 Chevrolet Camaro. Chad Jones and Trevor Dalton going to make up row number 2 as Klaus Williams and Austin Call make up row number 3. Chris Myers, but not the one from Fox, going to be starting in row number 4 with Eric Schaus on his outside in that beautiful Hot Wheels paint scheme on the number 60 Ford Mustang. Starting in 9th on the inside of row number 5, going to be Matt Mamikin. Wow, that's a hard one. I'm going to stumble over that all night, folks. And Joshua Yarbrough in the double natural, going to be starting in 10th on the outside of row number 5.
Derek Gilray starting P11. Alongside him is Ryan Farrell. Standing back there in the 13th position, we have Charles Teed. Get used to seeing that 50 car make his way up through the field. He tends to be an artist at that craft. We have Maxwell Caldwell, of course, 14th. And 15th, we have Michael Accord, who that's a person tonight you gotta pay attention to here, Dave. Michael is sort of known for having connection issues when it comes to SCL content, but last week we didn't see him blink one time. He got a season best finish last week, so if the connection's good, expect Michael Accord to be up front. He's flanked by Steven Johnson, who in the last month or so has really turned it up here in SCL competition. Expect that 44 to move up through the field. Michael Matta and Todd Merkel, 17th and 18th. 19th is Mark Brown, flanked by Chris Vanderplatz in that number 10. 21st is Eric Peterson, and alongside him is the man who runs the show, Josh Terrett Hill, boss man, starting 22nd. Andrew McKenzie, as mentioned earlier, is going to start 23rd. Eli Raposa will be 24th on the grid, followed by Matt Metler back there in the 716 machine. And then Bruno Latour, who is, as Frank would say, a series debutante here in this series, starting 26th. And 27th would be AJ Hobson.
27 drivers. Looks like 25 going to take the green flag tonight. We've got 125 laps to go once the green flag flies for Barrett Flow here and the rest of this 25 driver field. And I got to be honest, I'm starting to tingle there in my toes as, you know, just as we're getting ready to come down to it every week, it seems like I get more and more excited. And right now, the iRacing.com pace car lights are out. So ladies and gentlemen, that means what you need to do right now is grab some popcorn, call a friend, settle in, and maybe not. No, he just wanted to mess with me. False start on the broadcaster for, 5 yards, whatever it is. 0.625 miles.
Something of note this evening, as you can see already, is shown by our front row to our viewers here back here each and every week. It's a throwback week for SCL, so we're going to have to cover some of these paints too. You're at an old racetrack, might as well throw some old paint on these cars.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I love Throwback Paint Scheme Week because it makes me feel like I'm 12 years old again watching these drivers out here. I mean, a couple of Miller paint schemes already as the iRacing.com pace car drives down pit road. Ladies and gentlemen, grab some popcorn, call a friend, settle in. We're Green Flag Racing from North Wilkesboro.
Justin Lewis pulling out to a 2-car length lead on Barrett Flow, getting a great jump on the outside line. They are single file going into 3 and 4.
As they go through 3 and 4, it looks like they're going to be fender to fender coming out. We're not actually sure who's going to lead lap number 1. That goes to Justin Lewis. He manages to keep it here in that middle groove. Of course, not a whole lot of grip anywhere above him, so he's really on the edge right now as they are still duking it out here on lap number 2. Looking further back in the other Miller paint scheme here, we've got Miller High Life MGD in the number 30 for Trevor Dalton. And right now, Dalton kind of in the catbird seat. He's waiting for either Barrett Flow or Justin Lewis to make a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a special paint scheme, by the way, David, for Trevor Dalton, as he sports that Miller Highlight draft every week, and he's going to get fender to fender with Justin Lewis there, battling for second.
A clean start to the beginning of this race. I hope I didn't just lay the broadcaster's curse on them. But so far, so good up here in this top 4 as there, a little bit of brake smoke coming out from the 30, or from the 07. Looking back further here in the field, these drivers are going at it hot and heavy. This is an angry hornet's nest, as the great Tony Trapasso would say, as these drivers still looking for any kind of real estate on the racetrack.
This is a battle around the 10th, 11th, 12th place position, featuring Derek Gilray in that 46 and Chris Myers, both sporting paint schemes that are a little bit different than what you see from these guys from week to week.
Taking a look at Derek Gilray here in that Frosted Flakes paint scheme. I'll tell you what, I'm a huge fan of the old Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. I mean, you can have your corn flakes, but there's nothing like that milk at the end of a bowl of Frosted Flakes. It almost feels colder while you drink it.
Absolutely. That is top 5 cereals of all time. We'll have to make a power rankings at some point.
There will absolutely be a power ranking.
Speaking of being powerful, that would be that 94 machine of Maxwell Caldwell, plus 5 from where he started this evening, making some quick work up through the field. He is 9th.
Everybody finally getting themselves sorted out here. In fact, we can go high above the racetrack right now and just take a look from our static blimp cam. You can see everybody just about single file. A little bit of a knot there toward the rear end, but at this stage in the race, this is something to behold as we take a look in here at our good friend Mr. Matt Mentler here in the 716. He's working himself up nice and slow in that Mopar machine. You know what? Matt and I are going to have a chat about his paint scheme, because there was a race league that Tony and I had called last year that had a Ford that was dressed as a Mopar machine, and it almost hurt to say it because it was the number 12. It was a Ford, but it also had a kind of a dodgy look to it, and it was sponsored by GM Goodwrench.
Oh no.
By the end, trying to say that it was the number 12 GM Goodwrench Ford Mustang, I kind of smelled burnt toast, like I thought I was having a stroke.
Well, back here, looking through the field at some different battles, we can see that 16 machine of Michael Matta. He's up high, trying to fend off Josh Jarrett Hill. He's making some good hay in that 21 old school Wood Brothers machine, making his way through the field right now. He is plus 5 again from where he started tonight.
Well, you know what, and I'll tell you what, Wood Brothers Racing, you know, here at a place like North Wilkesboro, this is kind of where they got their start, if you really think about it. I mean, Glenn Wood founded it in 1950, so this racetrack was still basically a toddler when he came around. I mean, the number 21 car is iconic in our sport, and this racetrack has become iconic, especially this year, as it's been resurrected, for the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series All-Star race. So great to see that Wood Brothers, just a very plain Jane looking car, but that's kind of how the Wood Brothers have always been, relying on themselves to be self-promoters. And they definitely have made their hay. Whoa! What was that just ahead here?
That would be Michael Accord in the... Yeah, Michael Accord in the 17 machine got really sideways there in 3 and 4.
Yeah, listen, I think you're supposed to do the icky shuffle once you get to victory lane, not when you're trying to go into turn 2.
Yeah, he's definitely hurting now. You gotta wonder how a slide like that affects these tires here early on. We talked at the top of the show. You gotta preserve them. You have to make sure that you got stuff towards the end of the run. If you're in a 4-wheel slide, or Dave, like we've said, we've seen multiple drivers puff out brake smoke going into the corner. It's so detrimental to your long-term speed. Michael's gonna have to reel it back in now.
Well, and at 17 laps in, these tires are now just about at prime temperature. Track temperature right now, 122 degrees, but ambient air temperature 73, so it's nice and comfy for the fans here on the grass and in the stands. But right now in those cars, it is hotter than all get out, and at 122 degrees, those tires are going to start to liquefy as they keep turning laps here, as we're on lap 18 of 125.
God, these drivers right now are really, really trying to get the most out of their vehicles right now, but the one who has done it the most is your points leader right now, Maxwell Caldwell. He's worked his way up to P8, plus 6 from where he started. Bad qualifying effort, but it looks like that number 94 Merkle Racing Engine machine is doing pretty well holding his own.
Yeah, he's definitely been out here navigating. I'm assuming he's not using Magellan. That's definitely a Google Maps move, as he has gotten up and is our second biggest mover in the race. Right now, our biggest mover title goes to Josh Jarrett Hill, the boss man out of Mooresville, North Carolina. The 37-year-old has climbed up 7 positions and now 6 as he's fallen back behind. Of course, why not make me look like a goof? It's fine. But up now tied for that with plus 6 right now, running in 16th position. Checking in with our leader, Barrett Flo. He's running around out here with just about 0.6 of a second lead over Trevor Dalton. And right now, he's perfectly content up here logging laps. There's no reason to get get overexcited where, of course, Justin Lewis and Austin Call are ready to go at it hammer and tongs.
Yeah, these guys are no strangers to one another. These two seem to find themselves each and every week battling close together up around the top 5. So Justin Lewis knows how aggressive Austin Cole can be in early run situations. It might behoove that 07 to scoot on out of the way. But the problem here at this track, Dave, is if you're hung up on that outside line, you don't like racing up there, you might be driving up there for a little while.
Yeah, you kind of get stranded out there on your own little island as we're on lap 24. And, you know, if you can make it work where you can use that high line coming down the front stretch, I'm not saying you have to diamond it, but this is definitely more of an arc getting into turns 1 and 3. And, you know, if you get stuck up there, if you're pinned, you are pinned for at least 5 or 6 laps until someone makes a mistake. And right now, even looking at the 18 machine of Austin Call right here in that M&M's paint scheme, his camera is stuck to the bottom of the racetrack, so I don't think Justin Lewis is going to have an easy time trying to make his way around him right now.
Yeah, and I think for Justin, that's a pretty smart move, being able to just chill behind the faster machine. I think he was holding up Austin Call just a little bit here. Don't have to fight him off right now. It's pretty early on in the run, so these drivers are managing who can I fight and who should I let go, and I think Justin Lewis just made the right call.
Yeah, you know, last night the SNN Cup Series was over at Bristol Dirt, and it was a battle festival all night long. And, you know, a lot of times you get into one of those situations where you get frustrated. When you start driving frustrated, you know, all of a sudden that rear end starts to come around a little bit more because you're maybe goosing it just a little bit there on the throttle. And, you know, this requires patience. It's a long race, 125 laps, of course, the scheduled distance. And, you know, these drivers, I feel like they've got the skill and the ability to keep it pretty simply safe, if you will, as we move through this race. Taking a look once again here at Chris Myers, but not that Chris Myers. We get to see this paint scheme again. Of course, it's kind of a Jeff Gordon paint scheme, but of course has that Garza across the hood there. As I believe, nope, it's not even GMAC down the side. It's another Garza logo.
Yep, Chris Myers is sporting Garza Law Firm. They are always on his machines week in and week out, so good to see him kind of mash up those two schemes together. And looking back here through the rest of the field, we get to see guys like Charles Teed and Todd Merkel. Shout out Todd. He's the guy that tends to find all the other messes around him. He's in the 12 this week here, Dave, which I'm trying to figure out maybe a reason for that. Maybe Todd raced 12 at one point in his life. Normally Todd's sporting the number 2 Ford Merkel Racing Engines machine, and it looks like that no matter what he's driving. So gonna have to get a hold of Todd and see the meaning behind the new number.
Well, you know, getting a hold of anybody right now seems like it's going to be quite a task, as we've got 32 green flag laps down. And I'll tell you what, sometimes we see leagues out here in iRacing land that it seems like a caution festival. It really seems more like this race is just going to run yellows all night long. But so far tonight, 33 clean laps from these 25 drivers that took the green flag. Right now, the only driver down pit road is Andrew McKenzie. And for reasons unbeknownst to everybody else, he's decided to come down pit road before Mr. Feelgoods and a tank of Go Fast here from our fine friends over at the Sun Oil Company. By the way, did you know that that's what Sunoco stood for?
No, I did not. Wow.
I am a wealth of useless information, my friend.
Well, Andrew was pretty marred back there in traffic, and he was already a lap down on track. So it get some four field goods and keep on going there for McKenzie. But back out front, we have this battle that's starting to tighten up a little bit between Barrett Flo and Trevor Dalton. I think Dalton's showing a little bit more of that raw speed right now. And Barrett, very soon here, Dave, is going to have to start navigating lap traffic.
And lap traffic is pretty much what Trevor Dalton's waiting for. He's almost back here just lurking. He's kind of like, well, listen, let me let Barrett get up here. He can get involved in all this. And then Trevor Dalton's going to just go where they are not, for lack of a better term. Sometimes I feel like it's almost better to be in second or third position. I mean, especially at a super speedway. But here on a short track, we're at the opposite end of the spectrum. You want to be in second position and almost use these other guys like a pick. It's like a screenplay. And right now, Dalton is matching him step for step. They really haven't differentiated themselves as far as speed goes between the two of them. And Dalton and Flo, this battle for first, holding steady at about 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, these guys have been close to each other most of the season. Barrett Flo took off some time here a few weeks ago, and he made his debut back into the league last week. Of course, we all know how that ended up for him. Pretty good, if I do say so myself. But Barrett's doing a great job out here in P1, catching a guy that I expected a little bit more from, Steven Johnson, that 44. He has been probably one of the hottest drivers in SCL competition. Really struggling right now to get that car rotated through the center of the corner.
Definitely looking like he's a little bit tight getting through the corner. I mean, you know, maybe you go down and you try to make an adjustment there on your brake bias, because of course I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, we are in a fixed setup, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
I mean, in a fixed setup, the only thing that you can change as a driver is your brake bias. So, you know, maybe back that braking area up a little bit, you know, maybe instead of so late, backing it up a little bit sooner, or changing the brake bias and just jamming it there into the corner. But right now, wow! Barrett Flo making easy work of these lap cars, and they're almost making it harder for Trevor Dalton, basically the opposite of what I expected. Oh, they make a little bit of contact between the 30 and the 44. That's Steven Johnson trying to hold on to that lucky dog spot.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's going to go away here fairly quickly as Barrett Flo already going to put Josh Jarrett Hill a lap down here. Boss man trying to hold on in that 21 machine, but not going to be able to put up much of a fight, as now Steven Johnson is going to look for that ever-changing lucky dog spot. But there is a little bit of a gap here because he is working through the field here. And you know what, Dave? I really enjoy being the 30 of Trevor Dalton in these situations because, to be quite frank, I'd rather have the person in front of me do all the work.
Absolutely. Taking a look deeper back in the field, Charles Teed and Ryan Farrell, they were just side by side for about a lap and a half, and all of a sudden, it looks like Farrell just decided to come out the victor, maybe out of this battle. You know, we call it the battle box here in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and battle is probably the best word for it, because if you look at the race as a war, you have a bunch of small battles going on within it, and you know, sometimes you win a battle, sometimes you lose. It's all about getting to the end of the war. And we look back here a little bit further, the 50 of Charles Teed, he's starting to work around our very own Mr. Matt Metler in that Mopar Ford, which is, I just can't get through that one. Metler and I are going to have a long conversation about paint schemes.
Well, I mean, he tried to make it look like a Dodge. He makes it look like a Dodge every single week, as you can see. The back bumper of the machine, he's tried to make it look like a Dodge, and then of course the iconic front end. He's tried.
Well, you know, usually he's talking about my tasty cakes on my own race car on a Sunday night for SNN Cup Series racing. So tonight it's my turn, buddy. And, you know, speaking of Matt Metler being one of our teammates here at Sim Racing Media, we do want to let everybody know that our thoughts and prayers go out to Tony Trapasso, as he's been on the injured reserve list here for us in the last couple of weeks, not feeling too well. So, Tony, listen, I miss you, buddy, and I hope that you get well soon. I talked to him earlier today, and he's still Tony. He's fiery as ever. Just kind of frustrated in his situation, but, you know, hopefully he gets well soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony, one of the best guys to do it in our group here, and we're really fortunate to have him. And I know, speaking from my own experiences, my short time of working with Tony, I've certainly picked up a couple things from him, and Frank would say it'd be my sense of humor, but I don't think I agree. I don't think anybody can do it quite like Tony.
Nobody does it better. I think that was the name of the song for a James Bond movie starring Roger Moore. That's Tony.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of getting well soon, folks, out there in YouTube land, I do have to plug one little thing here for Mr. Greg Murphy of the Philadelphia Phillies radio crew. He is out for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Man of the Year, Person of the Year. So make sure that you get over onto Twitter, and that's at GMurphPhils. and get him some support there for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. As you know, there are so many people that do what we do, and we take this gift for granted, if you will. You know, and you know, to me, Zach, this is a joy to be able to sit here and broadcast. Period. You know, especially when it's good racing like we're seeing tonight right here in North Wilkesboro on Sim Racing Media.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing with SCL competition, you know, no matter what car discipline, you're always up for a good race. It just seems that SCL always produces great competition. And yeah, I saw that. I didn't want to bring attention to it because I was afraid there was going to be a wreck, but Josh manages to save it right there as Maxwell Caldwell continues to squeeze by. But the trademark for these guys, Dave, is that there is always hard racing, and we tend to see a little bit of everything throughout the duration of the event. There's always field strategy. There's always different guys intending different tire strategies as well. It just seems like every week you have large groups of guys trying to get creative with strategy, pull off the bold move of the race. I'm so excited to see what these guys do when they go down pit road.
Yeah, I mean, we should be getting into that pit window soon. I mean, I don't want to see a whole lot of guys trying to stretch this fuel window, because that's when mistakes are going to be made. I mean, we've already got some grass clippings there on the inside of turn number 2, and all it takes is one wheel to get out of place, and everybody's angry. And just as I say that, Steven Johnson in the 44 GM Goodwrench Chevrolet Camaro, of course, a throwback to the Intimidator here, he's getting loose coming out of 4 just about every lap. We're going to take a look at it one more time. Maybe he figured out that braking distance, but it's almost like there's Yep, there it is again. Almost like there's a pretty heavy bump between 3 and 4.
Well, it's an old track. It means it has a lot of character. So you have to navigate these bumps and find the line that works for you. And coming down pit road right now is Derek Gilray.
Gilray coming down in the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes number 46 Chevrolet Camaro. Of course, a tip of the helmet to our good friends over at Hendrick Motorsports. He's going to come down, get those 4 tires as the car gently comes off the ground. We're going to watch it slam back down. I always think that's interesting. When you see the car come up, it comes up so nicely. But as soon as that jackman twists his wrists, that's it.
Well, at least it gives the driver a good cue to know, hey, it's time to leave. And speaking about leaving, Barrett Flo has left Trevor Dalton by a measure of, well, about, I'd say, a quarter of a straightaway. Before we were documenting this battle, they were only 1 car length apart. I think Barrett's doing a really good job at navigating through this lap traffic.
Yeah, 3/4 of a second, now almost 9/10 of a second between himself and Trevor Dalton. And you almost have to wonder, does Dalton try to come down early and try to get the edge on him? You know, with that much distance, it's almost dangerous to try to come down before Flo. So now it's a matter of who's going to blink.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't take a lot for Dalton to make up that ground, as Barrett will catch lap traffic eventually. It'll just be a matter of coming out of the corner and not being able to drift all the way up to the wall, loses your momentum, and that gap would be minimized fairly quickly. So right now, Trevor Dalton, all he's got to do is hit his marks, be smooth. Kind of hard to outdo it versus the guy who's known for that in this league. And Barrett Flo's putting on a great show right now.
You know, between himself and Trevor Dalton, as I was thinking about you know, the long history that Miller Beer has had with NASCAR, and of course this racetrack has a long history with NASCAR as well. Here's a couple of names that have driven with the Miller Beer logos on their car. Of course, Bobby Allison from 83 to 88, the great Dick Trickle. There's a driver. You know what? Even aside from his name, Dick Trickle was just an interesting human being. I mean, one of the only drivers that I've ever heard of that had a hole drilled into his face mask of the helmet so he could smoke a cigarette while he drove. Rusty Wallace, of course, made this brand iconic from 1990 to 2005, as he had the MGB logo and then switched it over to light just before passing the torch on to Brad Keselowski. But, you know, so many great drivers. Of course, even Al Unser in 1984 in the Kart World Series had sported Miller. So Miller Beer, since about the 1980s, has been involved with NASCAR. glad to have them out here on track tonight, even though that I'm more of a Yingling guy, I'm sorry to say, you know, for the Miller folks, but just better.
Well, I'm a pretty big fan of M&M's, so Austin Call back here in P3, looking pretty sporty right now in that bright green 18 machine. Normally the old adage is I don't want any green on my race car. It's bad luck, but I've seen Kyle Busch win a lot of races in that very, very livery there in that 18 machine. Different look here for Austin, but looks pretty good out there sitting on the podium. These guys are going at it, though, back behind this group. We have Austin Call leading in P3, but Justin Lewis, we talked about earlier this race, trying to just measure who might be faster than him and then settle into a groove. He's settled it really well back there in P4. He hasn't drifted back very far at all. He's measuring the gap to Austin, making sure he's hitting his marks for the long run. Good day out there for Justin Lewis, because normally he's a short run kind of guy, but he's out here being pretty competitive 71 laps in.
Absolutely, and while we're here on lap 71, just want to take a quick break and look at the M&M's machine. Of course, you know, Kyle Busch, the most recent driver to make the M&M's logo look pretty on a Toyota Camry, but do you know where M&M's came from?
Well, I mean, it's a Hershey's. It's a Mars brand.
It's a Mars brand. It is not a Hershey's brand. However, at the beginning of M&M's existence, number one, soldiers during World War I needed a way to take something portably sweet without having chocolate melt in their pockets. So the chocolate was coated in a candy coating so that it wouldn't melt. You know, melt so you melt on your hand kind of deal, right? But M&M's, the Mars company, Mars Candy Company, used to have to buy their chocolate from Hershey because they didn't know how to make it themselves as well.
The more you know.
You can always check that out on the Food That Built America over on the History Vault. One of my favorite series over there. Love it. And as a Pennsylvanian, I love the history of Hershey chocolate. And as a future diabetic, I love Hershey chocolate.
Same. You got two Pennsylvania boys up here in the booth, so we are definitely privy to Hershey's chocolate. Definitely good to see that 18 sporting a good run. That's Chris Vanderplat's there on the inside line. He's just coming out of pit road in that number 10 machine. Haven't talked a lot about Chris at all tonight. He's hoping to turn some fortune around. Last season in the SCL competition, we saw that 10 up front nearly all the time. It just seems that bad luck has followed him this particular season.
You know, and that's unfortunate for a lot of drivers, you know, in racing where, you know, one year you're absolutely dominant and the next year, you know, you just fall off. And it's you feel like you've done nothing wrong. And at the same time, it's almost like everybody else looked at your film, looked at the way that you were doing something, and now you're thinking, oh crap, everybody else is doing the exact same thing I was.
Yeah, Vanderplat's has had a couple decent runs this year, but ultimately now on Four Fresh Goods trying to make some quick work of these lead lap cars who are still out on lap 78. It is crazy to see how far they've come.
It is shots fired in our youtube.com live chat as Mike Peters has come to Matt Metler's defense over his Dodge Stang. And he's encouraging Matt not to listen to me, apparently.
Well, Mike Peters is a regular here, so he tends to race here in these events. Don't know why he's hanging out there on YouTube. He needs to be in the car. He needs to go around in circles. Come on, man. But good to have Mike there in chat and be able to talk to him that way. But yeah, these guys are sticking it out here, lap 80, and they're still going on these tires.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I'll tell you what, at this point, they're trying to make this a one-stop race, and I just don't see that as being a safe idea. You know, me personally, as soon as it starts to get a little bit too tight, I don't care. You know, I'll come in and get tires early and just try to stay as competitive as possible through the pit cycle, because you certainly don't want to wreck someone else's night. You know, if I'm Derek Gilray, you know, as we had watched him come in, you know, way earlier than everybody else there on lap 57, you know, with the exception of Andrew McKenzie, Gilray came down on 57, and it keeps him out of the line of fire from making a mistake. as the leaders come on by.
Yeah, absolutely. And these guys are just trying to muscle by laps at this point if you're on the tires you first started with. And to be out here this long is quite a feat. To be a guy like Joshua Yarborough here in the 77, who is known for racing the high line no matter where we go, I am so impressed that the 77 machine has done this well at a track that, as I say that, he attacks the wall, but he's doing pretty good being able to stay out here and manage his stuff. As Chris Myers is now down pit road. Michael Cord down pit road.
Yep, 2 other drivers that just decided to quick come down here, get their 4 tires and a full tank of fuel. I'd say that have, by this stage in most other races, we would see them maybe taking a little bit of damage repair, but none of that's happening tonight as we are 84 laps in. So 84 laps in, we're going to step aside and take a break right here, but you won't miss a thing as we're going to go NASCAR nonstop side by side here on Sim Racing Media.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome back here to the SCL Weekly Racing Series here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. We want to talk to you about the partner that makes it all happen for SCL Weekly Racing Series, and that will be WJM Motorsports. And they are a team of professional and amateur virtual drivers, builders, broadcasters, crew chiefs, spotters, painters, and mechanics, all striving to win in one glorious, one-sided fashion. They provide extensive exposure for sponsors within real world and over the virtual iRacing world with an emphasis on iRacing. You can get your WJM merchandise and check out all the drivers and partners on the team, as well as finding out more information about how you and your company can get on board with this rapidly growing, highly competitive iRacing team at www.wjmmotorsports.com or sending an email to bill@wjmmotorsports.com. We want to thank WJM for their sponsorship with SCL Weekly Racing Series, so we here at Sim Racing Media can give you all of this SCL action throughout the week. Dave, we got a really good one here at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, you know, I can't believe that I'm saying it, Zach, as we're here on lap number 100. There are 25 laps to go, and oddly enough, as we got our graphics running again, gotta love working in the land of all that is digital. But 25 laps to go now in lap 101. No cautions. I'm not trying to bring one on, believe me. But right now, Barrett Flo is running an absolute clinic of how to get around North Wilkesboro Speedway. I mean, he just passed the 17 of Michael Accord yet again, as that DW paint scheme is making its reappearance. Here in North Carolina, and I got to be honest, I'm a big fan of DW, and to see it out here, it just looks real cool.
Yeah, and it's done right. You know, there's been some adaptations of that Tide scheme as of late that have been done, and let's just say they're subpar, but you nailed it tonight with Michael Accord there and having that great paint scheme paying tribute to DW out here. But Bear Flow right now, as you said earlier, has opened up a gap, a sizable one. It's no longer 5 car lengths on Trevor Dalton. It's 3.2 seconds. These guys are running away.
Yeah, Dalton has got... Oh, there it is. There's our caution.
You did it, Dave.
Sorry. Welcome to Send Your Hate Mail to Dave Regal, care of Sim Racing Media at Sim Racing Media Towers in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. And that's P.O. Box OU 812.
Well, these guys are now going to be faced with a bit of a conundrum. We only have a handful of cars on the lead lap. But that was Josh Hill that was sideways there in turn 2, I believe. But Bear Flow now making his way down pit road.
We're going to take a look back here at Josh Tarrant Hill and see exactly what might have just happened with him. Not sure where he got loose. We're going to take a look here.
Back here. Oh, it's pit road exit, Dave. It is pit road exit. And we didn't talk about this at the top of the show, but this pit road exit is so weird. You have to get on the racetrack almost immediately. Here he goes. And there he goes.
It went. Well, that's just getting it wrong. And you know what? That's cold tires for you. There's nothing that you can do sometimes to try to prevent that. But it definitely changes things for Barrett Flo, as now he and Trevor Dalton have now gotten their fresh tires. That's interesting. As looks like Todd Merkel wanted to stay out and get that point for leading a lap. Whether it's under caution or not, you're still getting that bonus point. But that'll make it Flo, Dalton, Lewis, Call, Jones, Caldwell, and don't look now, but Maxwell Caldwell, who has worked himself up nice and quietly tonight, is now up into 6th position after starting 14th.
Yeah, Max trying to do a good job here, trying to make sure that this week is not that drop week. And he's up to 6th. He's been really, really good on short runs all season long. We saw Barrett kind of go back and forth a little bit with Trevor Dalton in the beginning of this race. And if all things hold serve here, Dave, this might be your last shot to go get Barrett Flo.
Yeah, you almost have to believe that Trevor Dalton is thinking maybe it's time for full send mode, as it looks like Todd Merkel has brought it to a complete and safe stop. Let's see where he just disappeared to. Oh, now I can't find him. There he is. Not sure what brought that on for him. Let me just run that back real quick. It's almost like he came to a complete stop and it registered as a wreck. He might have just been letting other cars on by.
Well, he went down pit road on a closed pit, right? Because
that'll do it.
Yep, because he went down pit road. He led his lap, right? He gets his point, but now he starts at the end of the longest line, which, to be fair, if there's a wreck, then you're fine. But Todd will be scored 13th when we get back on the loud pedal here. So, but certainly not 13th on the racetrack. Pace car pulling off. Here we go. Barrett Flow. There he goes. Out to first car length lead going into turn 1.
First time we've gotten a chance to look at this since the start of the race as they came through the start-finish line. Oh, we've got a wreck coming down the backstretch into 3. That's the 18 of Austin Call. Oh, the front right fender just got ripped off of there as if it was just barely taped on with some Scotch tape. And that's a different... I'll tell you what, the iRacing update on the damage model for these machines is spot on.
We had a great camera view of that wreck as it was happening. The 18 caught up in front of all this. See here, the fender flopping down in the infield already. The wreck has already happened at this point, but taking a look back here at the wreck, let's see what caused this. Austin was he was 4th on the restart, so this might be a case of cold tires. Go into turn 1. Does he lock his brake? No. And it is cold tires.
Yeah, I believe that's the appropriate diagnosis there.
Maxwell Caldwell has to have a significant amount of damage as well. He got into the back of the 18 very hard. So our points leader could be in trouble.
Definitely not something that I was even prepared to think about as now we bring it back live here. Everybody going to get re-racked and restacked. Looks like they got some bear bond on the M&M's machine. A Toyota Camry getting back grouped up with everyone now with 13 to go. And, you know, as Tony and Frank would say, cautions breed cautions. And maybe this is where things are going to get hairy the rest of the way, as Justin Lewis going to be starting in second position with Trevor Dalton in third, Maxwell Caldwell in fourth, and Matt Meekin. Wow. Matthew McMeekin.
There you go.
Oof.
I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it.
I felt like I had to sound it out like I was 6 years old all over again.
I want to take a quick look here before we go green on the front end of Maxwell Caldwell's machine. That 94 sitting back there in fourth position. Let's see. I mean, definitely not straight. Look at that splitter. How it's all kinds of sideways when it comes to meeting the pavement, but he's going to soldier on, but certainly not his best right now. Can't go down pit road, though. You're going to sacrifice all that track position.
I'll say, and we can look right here from our drone cam as it's going to fly right in front of Caldwell. You can see that that crooked grin that the Chevrolet has here. So we'll see what happens. Oddly enough, at a short track, you know, the aero package not near as important. I mean, obviously it's still key, but not exactly the same as you would see on an intermediate or, of course, super speedway. So we'll see what happens for Caldwell here as we get ready to come back green. Barrett Flo going to have his foot hovering just above the loud pedal as the iRacing.com pace car dives down pit road. They come out of turn 4. He hits the loud pedal, stands on it. We're back underway.
Gets a good jump here on that restart. They might be looking 3 wide here for a second, coming out at 2. And, well, Maxwell Caldwell thinks the better of it. He's going to let the 30 in the 07.
Oh, the 07.
He's up in the fence. It's still green.
And
now
he comes
he's
to
parked.
a complete stop.
Now there's a yellow. That's Justin Lewis. And you know what, Dave? I was thinking about this under yellow. Every driver that has wrecked so far coming out of that first big caution, they didn't pit under that first run. And sometimes when you go a long time without fresh tires, you kind of forget how to drive the car. It feels like a totally different machine. And I think that's what Austin Call and now the 07 of Justin Lewis are experiencing. It's just a different feeling race car. It's been so long since it's felt that good. You got to get used to it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Short tracks are a lot like road courses as things go, because you get into a rhythm. And like you just said, perfectly put, that, you get out here and you forget how to drive it, especially when you haven't had any cautions to come down on. And with 8 laps to go, I'm still shocked that we haven't had more cautions to this point. So maybe it's out here and it's feeling a little bit loose. I mean, we'll take a look right now at our track temperature here on the right-hand side of your screen. It's only gone up 1 degree, and you think 1 degree isn't that big of a difference, as now, of course, it dropped down back to 122. But 1 degree you think doesn't make that big of a difference, but when you've been out here now for nearly 125 laps, that can really change things for you.
Yeah, and these drivers are going to have to figure out how to be aggressive, right? Yeah, you have to if you want to get by Barrett Flow today, but also keep the car underneath you. Too much wheel in this generation of NASCAR vehicle, you're around very quickly. It's no secret. You get too much wheel into it on exit, you're gonna spin out. And sometimes racing that higher line, as we've seen off of both of these cautions, can produce that increased wheel, and well, you're gonna be around. So they're all chasing Barrett Flow still. He's the champion at making sure his race is nice and smooth. Can anybody get by that 92 machine?
Right now, I don't think a ghost could get through there. Casper couldn't squeeze behind him.
Well, I mean, if anybody's been able to take it to Barrett Flow all season, it's been Maxwell Caldwell. And so I would, these two drivers, they really respect one another. I don't want to forget about Trevor Dalton there in the 30, but this is Max's first time on the inside. He's going to try to make most of it here, try and get around a guy who's raced with extensively all season.
Here they come into turn 3, just past that mellow yellow and Lowe's sign here on the outside wall. Everybody's starting to make sure that those gloves are nice and tightened up as we get back underway. They hit the Geico restart zone, and we are racing under green with 4 to go.
And Trevor Dalton make this work, and Barrett Flow a little bit high in turns 1 and 2. We got one sideways. That's Chris Myers there mowing the lawn.
We stand around. Oh! Someone is sideways. We'll have to get down there real fast. Oh my, I think that was Tarrant Hill.
Well, Josh Tarrant Hill got in a wreck because he was braking too aggressively to avoid the wreck that was going on in front of him. So we'll have to take a peek at who is spinning out in front of Josh Tarrant Hill. And that would be...
Oh, this is a tough one for me to find. Let me see if I can't. There we go.
Matthew McMeekin in the 041 machine.
There we go. You'll have to forgive me, folks. I'm not that good yet with some of these names. As McMeekin rubs the wall, that's definitely the cold tire brigade. He goes sideways. Tarrant Hill locks him up.
Yarborough.
And woof.
Yarborough took a huge hit there. And we here are going to be experiencing
the white flag is in the air, and that will effectively end the race. I didn't think we were in NASCAR overtime. Zach, is that something normal?
It is not. I thought we were under the it would have been like a traditional green-white checkered situation. And this league does one NASCAR overtime. They get one chance at it. I did not register to me up here in the booth that we were under overtime rules. I thought we had the restart pretty managed.
Well, that just simply means that Barrett Flo going to take home the checkered flag, with Trevor Dalton and Maxwell Caldwell joining him on the podium tonight here at North Wilkesboro Speedway as we go past that Holly Farms paint job there on the outside wall. The pace car disappears down pit road, and Barrett Flo can burn it down here at this historic racetrack.
Yeah, Barrett did a great job all day long. Just welcome to SCL, Dave. These guys tend to burn it down after interviews. They like to park here so we get the good camera angles, but Barrett did a really good job today at just being himself, that smooth driver that we've come to know so often here, and he captures the victory here at North Wilkesboro. Taking a look at some of these great shots between these three drivers up here. We're about to get ready to interview your race winner here, guys. And we're going to be trying to get all finishers in here, and it is Barrett Flo, the winner here at North Wilkesboro. Hey, Barrett, it's Zach and Dave up in the booth.
Hey, guys.
You've been the guy that I talked to you about this last week, and I said it before the race started. You have to be smooth, and there ain't nobody better out there than Barrett Flo. And you managed to do it again today. So getting the win here at North Wilkesboro, what about this racetrack suits your driving style?
Well, I mean, you topped me up there. I don't think I'm that great, but you just got to be really smooth here. You got to be easy on the throttle, easy on the brakes, and it just kind of all worked out.
Now, we went a long time without any yellows, and to be quite frank, it looked like it was going to be a race with no yellows. And then we got there towards the end, and it was restart after restart after restart. Were you nervous that they were going to get you there at the end?
Yeah, the last restart I kind of messed up. I waited too late. I had been going early and waited just a little bit too late, and I think it was Maxwell and Trevor hung with me pretty good there, but we were able to pull away, and then the caution came out.
Well, you certainly did a good job here at North Wilkesboro. You did obviously a great job last week at Michigan, and you took a break, Barrett, and now you're back, and now you're just racking them off here. Let's take a look forward into New Hampshire. What do you think about that racetrack?
Well, we don't have a set schedule. If we can go to New Hampshire, obviously we'll be there. It's kind of a flat track, and sometimes those flat tracks with not a lot of angle in the turns, sometimes you can overdrive those, and New Hampshire's not one of my favorite places, but but we'll see. We'll look, if we can make it, we'll look forward to it.
Well, Barrett, you did a great job today in that beautiful paint scheme. I tend to see you in that same red and white paint scheme each and every week. I was tickled pink to see you there in that 92 Miller High Life machine. You certainly took a beautiful car around this racetrack. You did very well. Of course, getting the win tonight. Do you have any thank you sponsors or shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, shout out to my team, Josh and Adam, and all the hard work all those guys do, and J.O. Flograden, and I guess I can thank Miller High Life, the old Bobby Allison paint scheme. I can thank them too.
Well, you took the magic of that old paint scheme and you brought it back to where it belongs, right here in Victory Lane. Go and enjoy, Barrett.
All right, thanks, bud.
Well, Zach, right now, going to try to get a hold of Trevor Dalton here as Barrett Flo goes to burn it down. Trevor Dalton, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth, along with Zach Woods. You got a copy, brother?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, listen, congrats on the podium finish tonight. Looks like you brought it home with the silver medal, but all night long you were up there just kind of lurking behind Barrett Flo, but not able to get it done. What were you thinking as we went into all these cautions here toward the end of the race?
The last one, oh crap, Maxwell is inside of me, and I'm on the outside line. I really didn't think I was going to hold them off.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier in the race where you almost seemed to be in the perfect catbird seat to start trying to use the lap cars as a pick to get around Flo, but it almost seemed to backfire. It seemed like he wound up using them as a pick to get, to keep you behind him. How frustrating was that trying to get up and around those lap cars?
Well, for the most part, they were pretty good. And I was able to keep kind of, just lurk, just kind of hang out with them, conserve my tires. But they're towards, I don't know, around lap 70, 80, when guys started cycling with pit stops and pressure tires, getting passed by them, and they weren't like passing very quickly, and they would get in front and slip up. And so, he was just starting to pull away.
Yeah, and that's kind of the story of the night. He was just able to pull away, but, you still fought the good fight, my friend. And before we cut you loose, is there anybody that you need to tip your cap to and thank for this run tonight?
Well, that was his race to win. He was the class of the field all night. I was just hanging out. Even if I got to him, I don't think I would have been able to do anything with him cleanly anyways. But shout out to the SCL management team, you guys in the booth. Really appreciate what you guys do, and thanks to the league. And this was a heck of a lot of fun. Went 102 laps, longer than I thought it was on the first run.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations. We'll see you next week, and go ahead and enjoy that podium finish there with the rest of the team.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
And last but certainly not least, Mr. Maxwell Caldwell. Try to get him up here into the broadcast booth for you, Zach.
Max, it's Zach up in the booth.
How are you, bud?
I'm doing well. It's been a little while since I've talked to you. Normally, I'm used to talking to you every single week. And I have to admit, Max, after that qualifying run, I thought you were going to be in for a doozy 2 weeks in a row. But you managed to work your way up through the field pretty well all night long. Talk about what that was like, trying to weave your way through all this traffic.
Yeah, first and foremost, you mentioned last week, man, that that rev limiter stuff was really killer. You could not. I started so far back in that second pack, you wasn't going to catch that first pack. You would just hop out. So that was unfortunate, but to come back for 11th there was decent. This week I came in and they opened the practice room a little bit early, which I was thankful for because this is a tough track. These, if you want to be honest, these cars really aren't meant to be on this surface. So this was the worst I felt coming into any race all season. So I felt slow. The first opening room had like 6 guys in it, and I was 6th of 6. I was 3/10 off Austin Call's time, which he was fast all night long. But yeah, practice. Probably made, I would guess, 160 to 170 practice laps before the race even started, just to even try to get a feel for it. And did, but just qualifying, I told him I didn't feel good about my qualifying run and just didn't hit the wall or nothing, just slow. Like, I just didn't pace in the car tonight, and I didn't have the driver behind the wheel to really pace it. I normally feel good on short tracks, but tonight just wasn't the night, so we just kind of ground at it. Luckily on the start there, technically started 12th, even though it was 14th. We had someone take an EOL, so started 12th, and raced my way through those guys up to 7th, and then that's just, by that point we equalized, and then the tires just started slipping and going away. Couldn't really make moves, and probably could have done a little better if I didn't get ran over a time or two from guys on faster tires. But, that's neither here nor there. But once we got the yellow, I felt really good about it. Come and get some tires, and had a really good pit stop. Come in 7th, come out 6th, so gained a spot there, and then outside seemed to do good on those restarts. So there at the really get by some of those guys that were bogged down on the bottom, and almost there at the end thought I had a chance at the win, but just cautions, and I didn't want to put people 3 wide like I would have, but I didn't want to wreck nobody. So congrats to Barrett though on the win, man. He absolutely dominated tonight, and Trevor Dalton was right there with him, so to finish 3rd alongside him, it's pretty good.
Well, you certainly earned that podium finish tonight here, Max. So do you have any thank you sponsors or shout-outs? I know you do, but I have to ask it. But any thank you sponsors or shout-outs for that P3 effort?
Oh, absolutely. First and foremost, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, man. He's awesome. Celebrated a risen Savior this last weekend. That was great. Had a great time with family and friends with that. And, yeah, just thankful for Christ for letting me race with these guys and be able to meet you guys in the booth and get to just have a lot of fun and just a blessed night each and every Monday night. Also thankful for the admins here of SCL. Man, it's been a pretty competitive season. A lot of new guys in here and a lot of fast guys, so it's been fun to run these. And also got to thank my teammates, Austin Call, Justin Lewis, and Todd Merkel, which Todd Merkel's the boss man, and that's where I got to say thanks to Merkel Racing Engines for being on the car. Love Todd's support there and just love racing with him in these things, and glad to get him up here and get some TV time for his company because, man, they do some great engine work up there in the Northeast. So also, lastly, thanks to you guys in the broadcast booth. I have y'all playing each and every race night, and man, y'all kill it. Y'all do an awesome job. So,
Well, go and enjoy that P3 finish, Max. You earned it.
thank you, sir. See y'all next week.
Well, Zach, another one in the books here for the SCL Cup Series. And I'll tell you what, to be at a place like North Wilkesboro the way that these drivers were tonight is something to be very proud of and something that I'm sure that you can really hang your helmet on, especially at this stage in the season, you know, getting ready to head into the latter stage of the season. But going to take one more look here before we get out of town at that final the final race results here. As we back that up, Barrett Flo, Trevor Dalton, and Maxwell Caldwell make up your podium, with Barrett Flo coming back to go back-to-back here in victory lane. Chad Jones finishing in fourth with Eric Schoss, and rounding out your top five, Austin Call, Klaus Williams, Ryan Farrell, and Todd Merkel round out the top nine, with rounding out the top 10, Mr. Charles Teed.
Justin Lewis is going to shake out to P11 tonight, followed by Steven Johnson. Dave, I remember talking about earlier in the show, that 44 machine was struggling. He claws back to a 12th place finish. Good job by him tonight. Chris Myers, followed by Matthew McMeekin there in 14th. Michael Batta, Joshua Yarborough, Mark Brown, and Michael Cord finishes 18th. Moving on down the list here, we're going to be able to see, hopefully, there we go. Moving on down the list, we see P19, which is Derek Gilray. Chris Vanderplatz rounding out the top 20 here tonight, followed by Eric Peterson, Josh Jarrett Hill, Matt Metler, AJ Hobson, Andrew McKenzie, and then we have Eli Raposa and Bruno Latour, who did not start tonight's event.
Well, Zach, I want to thank you for welcoming me into the booth tonight. As you know, it's always nice when I get to do something a little bit different on my Monday evenings. Of course, usually over there on the A Lot Cleaner Property Maintenance and Management Xfinity series, but that series was off, so it opened up my night to be able to hang out with you. So very thankful for that. And we're also thankful to all of you that watched us out here on YouTube.com, of course, over on my very own Facebook page. But to everybody there in YouTube land watching us there, make sure that you subscribe, turn on those bell notifications for Sim Racing Media, because we have racing at least 6 nights a week, sometimes 7. So there's always something to watch when maybe your favorite baseball team isn't doing so hot and you just feel like you need your fix of sports, and you can always come right here to that. So for Mr. Zach Woods and myself, Dave Regal here up in the broadcast booth, we want to say thanks for watching and making us a part of your evening. And tomorrow, as you go through your day, make sure that you find that happy moment, that one happy thought, and hang on to it. Because with a happy thought, you can fly. Good night, everybody.